The consultations are ongoing, and of course it is going to be an inclusive system. We are in talks, and we have a relationship, a working relationship with the Americans about the security arrangement. And the outside checkposts are in our control, and inside is under the control of the United States forces. And they're in constant contact with one another. It is very unfortunate for people to be rushing to the airport the way they are at the moment. I think it would have been much better, because we have announced general amnesty for everyone, the security forces from senior to the junior level. And this fear or this hysteria that has taken place is unfounded. The developments were so fast that all people were taken by surprise. And when we entered Kabul, and it was not pre-planned, because we announced initially that we do not want to enter Kabul, and we want to reach a political solution before entering Kabul and making a joint and inclusive government. But what happened was that the security forces left and they abandoned their places, and we were forced to ask our forces to enter and take over security. The point of intra-Afghan talks was precisely that we come to an agreement about what those rights actually entail. Sharia law is known to everyone, and there's no ambiguities about the rights of women, the rights of men, not only women but also the rights of men and children. And right now we're at a situation that hopefully during the consultations there will be clarifications about what those rights are. Our foremost priority is discipline in our own ranks, and not enforcing laws on others, but enforcing it on ourselves first, and then giving it as an example for the rest of society to follow suit. So we are the first ones, and our members, if they are involved in such things, will be the first to be prosecuted. Well, I don't think people believe we are terrorists. I think it's just the war on terror. It was just a term coined by the United States, and anyone that did not fall in line were labeled terrorists.
On the deadline, I can't speak for other nation states. I can only speak for the Department of Defense, and you heard the Secretary address this over the weekend. The goal is to get as many people out as fast as possible. And while we're glad to see the numbers that we got yesterday, we're not going to rest on any laurels. The focus is on trying to do this as best we can by the end of the month. And as the Secretary said, if he needs to have additional conversations with the Commander-in-Chief about that timeline, he'll do that. But we're just not at that point right now. Jen.
Has the Taliban told you that August 31st is the deadline and that you must leave then? Are those communications happening? Is that something you've agreed to with the Taliban?
We've seen the public statements by the Taliban spokesman about their views on the 31st of August. I think we all understand that view.
If the US or the UK wanted to extend the 31st of August deadline in order to continue evacuations out of the country, would you agree to that?
No.
Why not?
This is something, you can say it's a red line. President Biden announced this agreement that until 31st of August they would withdraw all their military forces. So if they extend it, that means they are extending occupation. While there is no need for that, I think it will deteriorate the relation, that will create mistrust between us. If they are intent on continuing the occupation, so it will provoke a reaction.
Let's talk about the situation at the airport. People are very afraid of what life may look like under your rule. People are prepared to leave everything behind. They're prepared to risk their lives to leave the country. What would be your message to them?
First, I assure you, it is not about their worry and not about their scare. This is about they want their demand to resettle in Western countries. And that is a kind of economic migration, because Afghanistan is a poor country and 70% of the people of Afghanistan are living under the line of poverty. So everyone wants to settle in Western countries to have a prosperous life. So that is, it is not about scared. Of course, for their justification to go there, they exaggerate, scare and terrified and so. So we know the Afghans. This is our society. This is not the fact they are scared.
We're hearing reports of members of the Taliban going door to door looking for people like journalists, like members of the judiciary, former government workers. We're hearing that girls' schools have been closed in some provinces. What are you doing about that?
All fake reports.
I was shown
If anyone is, as you say, and we investigate every incident, who is going door to door, he himself will be prosecuted and tried and punished, because that is a violation of our policy. But I can assure you, there are many reports by our opponents claiming what is not based on realities.
And as we now approach the date for American, British, foreign forces, soldiers to leave Afghanistan, what would you say to the families of those who died trying to help Afghanistan?
I first of all say they occupied our country. If we occupy your country, what you will say to me? If I killed your people in your country, what you will say? I think our people suffered a lot, bloodshed, destruction, everything. But we say the past is the past story, a part of our past history. Now we want to focus on future.
A lot of people keep asking what's going to happen, and the truth is nobody knows. What we do know is what has happened and what has led to the current situation, that we still, as the Afghan people, have to fear the Taliban. When you leave your house, you don't know if you'll come back home alive. That's the legacy of this war. I'm Ali Latifi, the online correspondent in Kabul for Al Jazeera. And between us, 20 years after the US invasion, the Afghan people are scared and angry. Why is it that 20 years later, the Taliban have so much power that they can overrun province after province? The Taliban, they made the deal with the United States in February 2020 that essentially guaranteed them that US forces would be out by the end of August of 2021. They won. They got what they wanted. It's also anger at the government for not doing enough to defend the country, to make sure that the military got the support that it needed. Soldiers haven't been paid for months, not getting proper food. The districts that they're fighting in have seen almost no development because of corruption, because of fraud. So what ends up happening is that districts and provinces are being handed over fairly easily from the government to the Taliban. A lot of times when people talk about the so-called gains of the last 20 years, you really have to put it into context of how many people it really reached and how much of a difference it made. There are still districts in Kabul, in other provinces, that don't have properly paved roads, that don't have clinics, that don't have hospitals, that don't have access to proper schools, where boys and girls are studying in the dirt. Usually a boy, when he would turn 16, 17, 18, would drop out of school and come to Kabul or another major city or Iran or Pakistan for work to provide for his family. And this is despite billions and billions and billions of dollars coming from all over the world. So a lot of times when people talk about these gains, it's a nice buzzword. People have always been suspicious of the US involvement. They also suffered because of drone strikes, which Obama ramped up. They are suffering because of airstrikes. They're suffering because of night raids. And they were suffering because they saw warlords becoming richer and richer, and they saw these moguls having contracts with the US government and US military. The people who benefited from this war will deny it, but the average person understands that a lot of this was in bad faith. What upsets everybody about the US withdrawal is not that they're leaving, it's how they're doing it, that there is no conditions on anybody. People need to have serious discussions about how we've ended up in a situation where the US and the UK and other countries have to create special visas for interpreters who worked with them, for rights workers and women to escape because the Taliban may kill them.